Urban homesteading is very, very cool. You can have the best of both worlds. I can have sheep in my backyard, chickens in my backyard. We can grow much of our own food, and at the same time, I can have a real job. And my kids can go to school that's very close, and grocery shopping is much closer. So urban homesteading is awesome if you can swing it. It's hard to find property that has enough size and has the proper zoning for it, but if you can swing it, it is heaven on earth, let me tell you. Seriously, let me tell you, that's what this video is about. If you're new to the channel, welcome. At the High Mountain Homestead, we're all about better soil, better plants, and better animals. And today, homesteading encompasses all of that. So I'm going to be talking about urban homesteading, how we make it work in a suburb. So continue watching, and I'm going to talk about the challenges and how we work through it in this video. Pretty nice house, right? It's not mine, it's my neighbor's house. You see what I mean when I'm talking about urban homesteading. I live on this just this older piece of land that just never got subdivided, and so if you look on a map, you can just see that there's one property right next to me that's identical, and everything around just keeps getting developed. So great for our property value. Thank you guys for developing, but the downside to it is I feel really guilty when the animals are loud. Our zoning says we can have animals though, so it's not like I'm bending the rules or anything like that. I just don't think we can have roosters, which I think my sheep are sometimes louder than any rooster would be. But urban homesteading is incredibly rewarding. I'm so lucky to be able to do this. But it's not without challenges. Some of the challenges are things like water. Most people that are homesteading for realsies, or better yet, actually farming, they don't have to worry about, water in the same ways I do. Maybe they have different worries, like having enough water is probably a problem. I'm on city water, but it's expensive. I'm able to do pressurized irrigation, which is great. But again, it's expensive and it's a fixed time. I only get 6 months out of the year to run pressurized irrigation, whereas if you're homesteading in another part of the world, you don't have to deal with that. It's your water. Okay, I've also talked about noise and how noise can be quite an issue. What do we have here? We've got, I think, 16 or 17 hens back here. We used to have roosters, and they annoyed me to no end. So I can't even imagine my neighbors back here. That must have sucked. Which is why I make it a habit to deliver goodies to them every so often to keep them happy. But the point of it is that noise is a real thing in a suburb. That's probably the most complicated thing. In the summertime, when my sheep back there are really uncomfortable, they are so loud. You would not believe how loud sheep can get. Especially, I have Dorper sheep, so best tasting meat you'll find on a sheep, but probably the loudest sheep there is. Sheep. Other sheep. And so with them being right here and having one neighbor right here, another neighbor right there, it's really unfortunate. So I've had to take a lot of measures to keep them content while not spoil them, because that is key to keeping sheep quiet, is do not spoil them. We've got this girl rubbing her butt on the fence. It's a great shot for the video. Thank you, Winnie. Gotta love this. Gotta love this life. But yeah, keeping them content while not spoiling them is the key part of noise. Okay, another problem that we deal with in an urban homestead is pesticides. Not because we spray them, but because I live in a neighborhood where people just routinely spray Roundup. Also, here's another thing, just someone's trash just blows into my yard. Pesticides are a huge problem, especially next year. Like we want to get bees and start beekeeping, and I worry about pesticides in situations like that. And so how to overcome that is really just talk to your neighbors, and it's awkward. You're just saying like, look, don't spray pesticides near my property. I have animals on it, they can't eat that. and people are mostly pretty understanding of that. I think pesticides really just come down to education, just telling people like, you know, the downsides to it, or how to go without it, or offering help to you know, to help them clean up their garden, or what did that sound? Pesticides. They suck, and talking to people about it sucks also, but the end result is good. So the fix for that is an awkward conversation that will ultimately help you out in the long run. For this next point, I got to take a little walk to the front yard. So I have a big lawn. It's actually like bigger than I'd like it to be. The reason is because on a homestead we want every inch of the homestead working for us. And while we can certainly do a lot with grass when it's been mowed, there's better uses for it, which we're trying to right now. We've got some little chicks right here on our chicken tractor. Let's get closer to them while I'm talking here. But we have a lot of lawn right here. And I used to think, and I still do, that it's great to put the sheep up here. I've got electric fence, so it's not that hard to put up. I'm lying, it is hard. Putting up electric fence sucks. When it gets tangled, it's the worst thing. It'll ruin your day. But it's great to be able to use the lawn. However, there are downsides to that too. This is nice to keep the chicks here because, again, it lets me feel like I'm really using this lawn well. And it's good for them. They're not big enough to be integrated with our main flock yet, so it's nice to just give them a nice little setup here. So this looks perfect to put sheep, right? It's a big lawn. It can probably support them for a week or two. But the downside is that I don't have a huge fence that blocks a road. And I've seen my sheep hop into a compost box, which is about 3.5 feet tall. So if they wanted to, they could jump that. But that's actually not what I'm most worried about. I'm most worried about punk kids in the neighborhood just coming in and harassing the animals, which has happened before. No real harm was done, but like it just has instilled kind of a fear in me that maybe something bad could happen to the sheep. So I just worry about putting sheep up on the front lawn, which is a shame because I have so much grass. The good thing is that in months that are not the late fall, we don't get this much shade from these trees behind me. So we're actually going to try our hand at some row crops right here. So that could be really neat. Again, no square inch goes to waste here, except maybe the driveway, because cement's doing nothing for me. Okay, so I've talked about punk kids coming over the fence. If my sheep are in the back, though, they're pretty secluded. So I don't think that's an issue if they're back there. But I do worry about dogs sometimes. My neighbor keeps a ton of dogs, but I actually trust all of those dogs really well. What I don't trust is when somebody's, let's say somebody has a pet border collie or a heeler or something like that gets out and hops into my pasture. My pasture's really sunk low into the ground, so the cul-de-sac above me doesn't have that high of a fence. So there's no chance of anything on my property hopping out, but it's really easy to picture something possibly hopping into my fence. And, dogs that are pets that have never seen a sheep, I have no doubt that they would attack a sheep if they were there, whether it was for play or for predatory reasons. But I do worry about that, so that's kind of another bummer about the urban homesteading life, is you kind of just live with the fear of, what if a dog gets in there? Okay, another piece of the urban homesteading life that complicates things is city ordinances. So my home is registered for residential agriculture, so that's great. I can have animals. I think with my zoning, there's no limit on, you know what, there is a limit on chickens, but it's like, I think it's 1 chicken for every 1,000 square feet of land that you have. And if we're an acre and a quarter, we're close to 60,000. So I'm not having 60 chickens here, but legally, I think that's how many we can have. Just no roosters, I believe. And then sheep are, I think, classified as a medium-sized animal. So if I read the city ordinances right, we can have, it's either 5 or 8. It's hard to read. It's hard to work with. We can have these guys out here. I'm actually going to go down to 4 just because I think that's going to be better for my size of land. Or I could have 2 large animals. Large animals being like a horse or a cow. I'm not having either here. So sheep's the biggest I'll get. I might get some pigs, which are nice because you can finish them in just a matter of a few months. You know, you just buy a weaned animal and finish them. I have a run over there that connects to that barn back there. So, but city ordinances, make sure you know, it would just be a shame for someone to come over and say, you know, legally you can't live this dream. So making sure you understand those city ordinances is a big deal. Okay, let me share with you the last interesting point of urban homesteading. That's a bummer. So fences like this, or I should say projects like this fence, take me, you know, a couple weekends to do. We have young kids, so I don't get to spend as much time out here as I want. But, you know, this fence right here, that chicken run behind me, this gate that I put in, like all that time and money that is really helping me live my dream. I know that probably when I'm done with this property, which is hopefully decades, we'd like to raise our kids here. See, here's this pig run that we built. That when we're done with all this, it's just going to be developed. And you know, that's great. That'll probably help launch us into retirement, which is awesome. But it's just a bummer. You know, you put all this time. Like, for example, this grass. You know, like, I planted this grass in the spring, and it looks so good and so green right now. But to know that, you know, when they develop this, they're just going to bulldoze, level it all out and stuff. And maybe that's 20 years from now, so I shouldn't be bummed out about that. But that is something that, you know, chicken coop, feed barn, lambing barn, all that stuff. So maybe I shouldn't get too sentimental when I've got, you know, 20 years to live with this property anyway. So I don't want to end this on a sour note, because I think there's a lot more benefits that we have here than sour notes to end on. But, you know, we get to live our dream. I get the best of both worlds. I get to have a full-time job. My kids get to, you know, live, my kids especially, like they get to have like the ethics of farm life, but, you know, live in a place where they can, you know, not have to drive so far to school. They can have friends nearby. It really is the best of both worlds. It is a dream to me to be able to do this. And so for anyone else out there that, you know, this is your dream, I'm no expert at it. I've only been doing it a year, but I'd love to answer any questions you might have in the comments. I'd love to see you on more videos that kind of talk about how we're making this dream happen. So please subscribe. And if you do, I'll catch you on the next video. But for now, I'm PJ with the High Mountain Homestead, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for stopping by this time.